Everyone, welcome to Kailul Kol Shira in partnership with Breslov.org and of course Daily Sanity. And today we're going to discuss this really packed parsha. I mean, Parshat Chukas. There's so many events going on in this parsha. It's mind-boggling, right? We start off. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us the Chukas HaTorah, which is the Parah Aduma, right? The most amazing thing that mitzvah that even Shlomo Melech, which was the wisest man of all men, he was perplexed by the mitzvah of Paraduma. Why is it that the one that sprinkles is tahar, and he sprinkles the one that's tamei, that's impure, so then he becomes impure for the day, but the other guy becomes pure. Fascinating halachas, right? I mean, all the halachas of Tumah and Tahara are very, very remarkable. We really it's very hard for us to understand them. The way I like to look at it is like this, today we have an advantage that perhaps Jews maybe 200 years ago did not have an advantage, which is that we have today electricity, right? We have electricity, so someone may say, what's this thing of Tumah and Tahara, and how does it work, and what do you mean it's a Tamei? How does that work? Well, let's just say like this. Let's say, a guy can say, I don't believe in electricity, right? And he'll go and touch the electrical outlet. He'll get shocked pretty darn good, right? Whether or not he believes in it, it's there. Correct? Does everyone agree with that? Yeah. All right. So Hashem gives us always a mashal for the nimshal in each generation to help us understand the circumstances and things going on. So perhaps we could understand it like that. Now, so that's the Parah Aduma. All right. Then we have that Miriam passed away, right? And then when Miriam passed away, so we know that the well that we had, that stone, perhaps that was the first rolling stone, right? Maybe that's where they got their name from, right? Right, that stone rolled with us, and that was in the schus of Miriam Anaviyah, right? So then what happened? So what happened right after Miriam, when she passed away? So Klal Yisrael started to complain that they needed water, right? Because there was no water. So what happens? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe to take your stick and to go and speak to the rock. But Moshe Rabbeinu, the Medrash says, he went and he did speak to the rock. But Moshe, what? But Moshe Rabbeinu, even though he was speaking to the rock, the Medrash says there were many rocks, right? There were many rocks, and Moshe Rabbeinu was talking to each rock, but the rocks weren't answering him. And then what he did was he took his staff, and he hit the stone. V'yotzu mayim rabim, right? That's what the Torah says. V'yotzu mayim rabim, and a lot of water came out of that rock. But because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu that you didn't believe in me, and you didn't show the people, because of that, you and Aharon are not going to be able to make it into Eretz Yisrael. Terrible, mamish, terrible. But let's try to understand that for a second. We learned many times before that Moshe Rabbeinu was always going to bat for Klal Yisrael, right? Right. What happened by Cheder Egel, right? We did the biggest Aveira at that time, and when we did that big Aveira, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, "No, I'm going to destroy the Jewish people, and I'll make a new nation with you." And we know that Moshe Rabbeinu tried his best, and he did, and he was successful, showing how special each Jew was. And he convinced HaKadosh Baruch Hu to forgive us, right? And the Zohar also says an amazing thing. That Moshe Rabbeinu, he wanted to take out the Erev Rav from Mitzrayim, right? The Erev Rav, and the Zohar says that really the Erev Rav and the stone, hitting of the stone, was really the same thing. Who understands? We don't understand. Moshe Rabbeinu, because he loved people and he believed in people, and he believed he was able to take care of. He believed he was able to affect these Erev Rav, and to bring them closer to Hashem. And what greater thing is than if you could take the Rechaikim and bring them closer to Hashem. So I was thinking, where did Moshe Rabbeinu get this idea to bring the Goyim closer to Hashem? Where? From Avraham Avinu, right? The Torah Kedusha tells us that Avraham Avinu was Megayah many Gerim, right? There's Hanefesh Asher Osa Bechoron, right? Rashi tells us over there those were the converts that Avraham Avinu was able to make with the people that he met. So you see over there, so Moshe Rabbeinu said, listen, if these people want to come with us, so too we'll be able to affect them, help them. But unfortunately, we know that really it was the Erev Rav that led us to the Aveira of the Cheder Egel in the first place. And it was really the Erev Rav that really complained and caused us to complain each and every time in the Midbar. It was the Erev Rav. But now the question is, why does Moshe Rabbeinu get punished here that he can't go into Eretz Yisrael if all his life he was defending Klal Yisrael? For the past 40 years he was always defending Klal Yisrael. This is what he did. He always defended Klal Yisrael, and he was always helping us. So why now does Moshe Rabbeinu get punished and he can't go into Eretz Yisrael? What happened? So there's the Ramban and Rashi. There's a machlokes, right? The Kedushas Levi brings this down. It's right. It's a famous thing that the Ramban and Rashi, right? It says that one says that Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Shimu na amorim," listen up, you rebels. Shimu na amorim. He addressed the Jewish people as rebels. Amazing. Moshe Rabbeinu that always looked for the good in everybody and saw the good in everybody. Moshe Rabbeinu now at this juncture, he chooses to call the Jewish people rebels. Interesting. There's a school of thought to say that perhaps Moshe Rabbeinu at that time just lost his sister Miriam, and it was very traumatic for Moshe Rabbeinu to lose his sister. Why? Because he understood that he was only in the world because of the merit of his sister. Right? Because you remember when back in Mitzrayim, when Paroi made the Gezerah on the males, so what happened was, we know that Moshe Rabbeinu's parents, they split up because they didn't want to bring any children into the world. And Miriam told her mother, she said to her parents, "You're worse than Paroi, because Paroi made a Gezerah only on the males, but you're making a gezerah on the males and the females. Because if you have children, you may have a female and everything will be fine." Again, she was a girl herself. She was a female herself. All right? So that was one thing. And Moshe Rabbeinu had the problem now with the rock, with the whole thing with the rock, because again, Miriam HaNeviah was her schus that Klal Yisrael had the water in the Midbar. And now Moshe Rabbeinu realizes he has this problem because he doesn't have his sister. And perhaps his sister consoled him all the time. And his sister, gave him, helped him all the time. And he felt confidence that he had his sister. And now he didn't have his sister. He was mourning his sister. So maybe that's one idea you could say why he would have addressed the Jewish people as rebels. Perhaps he didn't have anyone advising him. Next thing is, we could say that Rashi says that, well, the fact that he hit the rock, So comes along the Kedushas Levi, and the Kedushas Levi says in a remarkable thing, that really they're both saying the same thing. Rashi is saying the same thing as the Ramban. You're going to tell me, how can that be? Ramban is saying because he said Shimu no hamorim, because he said, listen up, you rebels. Because he said, listen up, you rebels, that's why the problem happened. Okay, and the other one says, because he hit the rocks. How can you say they're the same? comes along the Kedushas Levi he equates the whole thing and he makes it wonderful. This is what he says. He says that, really everything in the world was created for Klal Yisrael, for our purpose, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked in the Torah. The Torah was the blueprint. The Torah was the blueprint for the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked at the Torah, which is the blueprint for the world, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu made everything in creation based on what we would need to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Now, the rock, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made the rock, and he made all inanimate objects, and all plant life, and all animals, and everything to serve, that we should be able to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu using all the things that Hashem created. So came along the rock, and the rock said to Moshe Rabbeinu, listen, you just addressed the Jewish people as their rebels, which means to say what? That the Jewish people are not necessarily doing what they're supposed to do. They're not following the Ratzon Hashem. They're not doing what they were charged to do in this world. So if they're not doing what they're supposed to do in this world, why should I do my job? Says the rock. Why should I give the water? Why do I have to give the water and do something out of my character if the Jewish people are not following the Torah, what they're supposed to do? So really, if you understand it like that, really, the fact that one is saying that he hit the rock, the other one is saying that he addressed the Jewish people as Shimun Amayrim, listen up, you rebels, is really saying the same thing. Because had Moshe Rabbeinu addressed the Jewish people in a beloved way, in a very pleasing way, so then the rock seemingly would have certainly given the water that it was supposed to do, because the Jewish people would have given to do what they were supposed to do. But now the question is, we know the Ani Mamins, right? There are 13 principles of faith, right? And the first one is Ani Mamin B'una Shlema Shabayri is Bo Shemai Uvayre Yomanik L'chol Abruim V'hu Levadei Osa V'Oisa V'Yasa L'chol Amasa, right? We all know that, right? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge of everything. He makes everything, does everything, for all actions, all things, and everything. It's all Hashem. So if that's the case, so really, why does HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to say, set it up in a way that Moshe Rabbeinu would stumble and not come into Eretz Yisrael? But we all know that really that was part of the chesed of Hashem. Why? Because had Moshe Rabbeinu made it to Eretz Yisrael, then when we would have sinned, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu would not have destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. HaKadosh Baruch Hu would not have. He would have taken his wrath out on us. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not want to destroy Klal Yisrael. He was so well convinced by Moshe Rabbeinu that we were special, that we were wonderful. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I won't do that. So therefore, if Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't go into Eretz Yisrael, and then the Jewish people, we make a mistake, and we don't do what we're supposed to do, even though the Beis HaMikdash will be destroyed not once but twice, the Jewish people will exist, and the Jewish people will flourish, and the Jewish people will be well. And this is really ultimately what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted for Klal Yisrael. It's not just that Moshe Rabbeinu did this happen. Yes, I gave you the reason why, because Miriam Hanaviah passed away, perhaps, and it was her schus, and that's why the water. And then Moshe Rabbeinu perhaps was an avelis. He was mourning his sister still. Okay, I understand. Okay, but still, behind the scenes, why would HaKadosh Baruch Hu have set up all of those things that Miriam and Neviah would pass away right then, and this would happen, and all this, the circle of events would happen the way they happen? So perhaps that's an answer. Does anyone want to say anything on this? Rabbi Yehuda, do you want to say anything? Do you have any comments, please? Anyone want to discuss anything?
That's clear.
Yaakov, you want to say something? All right. Shkoyach, everybody.